Hey, good morning, you guys. Thanks for coming back. Excuse me. Thanks for coming back and checking out our channel. Or if this is your first time being here, thanks for stopping by. My name is Nate, and our company is Custom Made by Us. Today's video is so we've got a Facebook group for fellow Ricoma REVEL DTF printers. So if you've bought this setup that we're using, that I use, I've set up a Facebook group. We got about 50 members that are there that provide really good support when we can, if we have an answer. So if we can't get an immediate response from the manufacturer, they're not the manufacturer, but from the vendor that we bought the printer from, typically people will post questions in the group. So sometimes we got decent answers and sometimes we don't, just depending on the knowledge base of the individuals that are answering the questions. So I've had excuse me, a few instances where I've seen some posts in the group where they're having issues, and I can tell it has to do with alignment. So today's video is going to be on this system, how to align your print heads. So the REVEL 2402, it's a 24-inch format. It's got two print heads, one CMYK, and when you're printing, you have to realize that ink's getting laid down on the film. If you're printing bidirectional, so bidirectional printing is obviously going to make your printing faster because it's printing in both directions. One way to test to see if you're having an alignment issue is if it's with your bidirectional, is just turn off the bidirectional printing. You know, let it print just in one direction and see if your offset goes away. If it does, then you can go in and adjust just the bidirectional offset and see if it fixes it. So inside of the Print EXP software, there's a lot of settings and a lot of things to print and test and look at. So today I'm going to show you my process of going through and reviewing the alignment on my printer. So touch the back of my screen to get my camera to come back on. So we're in the middle of winter here. This is what, you know, I've got a nice epoxy floor in my garage. The only downside to this floor is if you ever want to do an epoxy floor, it's cost. It's very expensive. And the other thing is if you drop a nut or a bolt on the floor, you're never going to find it. You need like a magnetic broom thing to walk around on the floor to see if it'll pick it up. So I can't tell you how many washers or nuts that I've dropped on the ground that just, they're probably kicked underneath the cabinets at this point. So the other thing that's nice is this here. This has nothing to do with DTF printing, but I like to kind of ramble. I always say Nate's ramblings. So this is my wife's murdered out Jeep Grand Cherokee, black on black on black. A lot of people tell us it looks like we're Secret Service when we're driving around in this thing, which is, I like it. It's cool. Here, though, we pick up a ton of ice because of the snow, and it collects the underneath side of the car. And when you're driving in the driveway, it just drops on the ground, and that's it. So when things start thawing and melting out and I can clean things up, it's nice that I can pull the car out of the garage and then use my pressure washer. Not my pressure washer, I'm sorry. I have a hose bib over there. It's kind of hard to see. Right about there. It's a hot and cold hose bib in the garage, so I can water this down with hot water, and then I've got a big squeegee that lets me just push all of this out into the driveway, and then I'll clean off the driveway. So what's nice with this, though, is when the home that we lived in previously did the same thing, concrete garage, this mud literally would just seep into the concrete. And when you'd wash the floor, it didn't matter. You just had mud stains for days that you don't get out. So what's nice with the epoxy is it cannot seep into the concrete below. So when I clean this up, the floor will look, you know, the way it's supposed to. So today, humidifier is on, even though it's, I don't know, 20 some odd degrees outside our garage. The temperature in my garage right now is about 68. We've got a mini split that's up on the wall. It's currently set to 64, but we're going to be higher here because there's heat coming off the printer, and then there's heat coming off the preheat, and then the oven is actually on too. So I do that to kind of heat up this area. Humidity is at 38. Humidifier is on, and it's funny as it thinks it's 60 because it's all just collecting right there. That's the downside of this thing is you turn it on, you got to set it to 80 because to get it to 60, it's got to get to 80 at its location for it to get this to where it needs to be. So, but we're gonna run that. It should bring up the humidity for us. One thing I do use in my alignment checking is a microscope, a digital microscope. So you don't need to. I mean, you probably just do it by your eyes, but for me, I want it spot on, so I use a microscope. So we'll kind of go through this and show you how you can utilize this. I'll link this in the description below. I got it on Amazon. I think it was like $200. They have another one that's not as big, doesn't have the same size screen. They have some that are just like the wand, you know, so you just hold the wand and then it has a USB connection to your laptop. And you can kind of run it over and zoom in and zoom out and look at stuff. But for me, this one was nice. It's got a light on it, so when I turn it on, it wants an SD card if you're going to record. It's kind of cool. You can take pictures and videos and stuff of what you're looking at. But for me, I don't need to do that. So just as an example, I'll put this underneath there. That's a little bit close, but that's okay. So that's my little tape measure that I use. Don't judge. So if you focus it, focus is like right about there. I might have this a little bit too close to focus on this, but because normally it's just the level of my paper. So that's that. So it has a light on it. So sometimes the light might be too bright. There you go. Look at my finger now. I sure take good care of my fingers, my fingernails. So a little bit blurry, but again, I can focus it in if I want. And then what's cool is it also has these little lights on the side that you can bring them in. And there's a button back here. If I turn this on, you can see there. Now those are on the outside. Just depending on how much light you need. And then I'll focus on the tray. Right there. So again, when you're looking at your alignments, I don't use the lights for the alignments because it actually reflects on the film and makes it hard to see, so I leave it like that when I do it. So the first thing we're going to look at, I'm going to come over here to my big screen so you can see it better. Use my laptop touchpad. Actually, I'll just look at the laptop. It'll be easier to film it this way. So inside Print EXP, this is the software that we use to print the files that we rip. So once you rip the file, you come in here, you go to File, you grab your file and print it. So we're going to go to Adjust. So adjusting is adjusting when you do a new head install. There's nozzle check. My printer does not do, when I click on this and click Print Adjust, it just does a nozzle check. So it's not doing anything different than doing this button here, check. Vertical check, you can see this little icon down here. It kind of wiggles back and forth and it prints a vertical check. I don't normally do that. I did this morning just as a check, and there's no values on it. It doesn't really tell you adjust it plus or minus, to get it in line. These here, left and right tilt, you can see it's tilting left and right now, or front and rear tilt. If you click print adjust on these, it doesn't do anything, but you do get a red arrow down here in the corner. And if you click on it, it tells you it failed to obtain the calibration chart information. So I'm going to assume that that function does not work. Maybe it's because I've only got a 2-head printer. Maybe it's only for 4-head print heads to do that function. One thing to note that I've found is you have a step offset. And right now my step offset is set to 0. This is on 1 pass, so obviously I'm not printing 1 pass. So if I come down to my 6 pass, this should be 0. So I think if you do a print adjust on this, actually I'm going to cancel that. And the reason I'm canceling that print job is I didn't pull the film back up. I don't want to print and waste that film that's down below, so I'm going to pull back the film. And now on my 6 pass step offset value of 0, I just want to look at this one, so I'm going to click print adjust and we'll see what it prints. So my humidity is gone. So 32, I came out this morning, so now it's at 41. Alright, so now we're going to cut this off the right way. And we're going to get this under the microscope. Sometimes I'll just touch a button or something to keep it on, because it's probably getting ready to turn off again. So looking at this, 0. So at +1, you can see that we have an offset. That's not good. 0, we're dead on. And then at -1, we have an offset. So by looking at that, we know that this alignment at 0 is good. You always want to be at 0. Just remember that. So that for the step offset on my 6 pass is what I normally run, is good. So the next thing we're going to look at is color, or the head space. So this is typically where you're going to go to. So when I did the step adjust in the head install, I normally don't go into those areas to do alignments. So if you're doing the alignment, you're typically going to go right into head space. You're going to do a horizontal for your left distance, your right distance, and then you're going to do a vertical. So I normally will print all 3 of these. So I have them. So I'm going to go ahead and just click print adjust for the left distance. And again, I'm going to cancel my print. Guess why? Then I pull the film back. So once it's canceled, I can pull the film up and not waste some film. So we'll do a horizontal, left and right, and then the vertical. So we're going to go back. And we're good there. So I'm going to do print, adjust my horizontal left. And then I'll do the right, and then the vertical. And then I'll have all 3 prints on my page. And then I cut them out, and then I will review them, and I'll take a Sharpie and write on them as to what values that may or may not need to change. So that one is done printing. That's my left horizontal. At this point, I'll go ahead and get this down enough that it's on the tray. Alright, so then we're going to go ahead and do the right distance. I used to take a marker and write left, horizontal right, so I could know what it was if I cut it out. These actually have little prints on here that tell you what they are, so you don't need to do that. So after the right distance, we do vertical, and I'll do print adjust. I don't know if it's okay to print them all out like this, see if there's any values that need correcting, going and correcting all three of them, or if it should be done one at a time. You know, do your left horizontal. If it needs a value change, change it, save it until you get on 0. Then do your right horizontal, change the value to where it needs to be, save it. You know, so I sometimes have just gone in and printed all three of them and went, okay, there's little tweaks here and there that needed to be done, make the tweaks, and then when I print them again, they're fine, so I don't think it matters really. So I cut this one off, but then I take, move this camera over here. And again, I just, you need it, for me, I needed to be up towards the top of the print, because that's how it goes into the microscope. Wording. And my vertical. The vertical looks different than the right and left, so I really don't need the writing on the bottom because I know it's more vertical. And again, the microphone might not be great because I'm not using my wireless, and I apologize. And do you waste a lot of film while you're doing this? Yes. All right, so we got our three: horizontal left, horizontal right, and vertical. Bring this up here. Just set this up on not having to hold the excuse me, hold the camera while I'm trying to show on the microscope. So let's look at the left one first. Again, we're looking for 0. And that, to me, looks good. If you look at the little line, the white dots are lined up where if you come over this way, you can see that the dark is a little bit more that way. Obviously, the further you go, I'll give you a drastic. You can see how the dark is really over. So as you start coming into 0, that's probably 0. Yeah, that was 0 right there. And then you see if you go the opposite direction, you can see the black and the dark probably come out a little bit on this. That's probably good. Get my zoom, focus in. So again, right there. Yeah, on -1, I can see a little bit of a dark hue on the side there, and then you can see a little bit of a dark hue on the side there. So my horizontal left is good. So now I'm going to look at the horizontal right. And again, like I said, you can see right here it says horizontal distance right at the bottom of the print. You don't know what you're looking at. So we're going to go to 0. So to me, this looks off. Almost looks like it needs to be -1. Yeah, I think it needs to be -1. Sometimes looking at the thin line is more beneficial. And then I'm gonna go back zoomed in so we can really get close on those dots. Let's do that. So I'm gonna focus my microscope here. So if I turn the light on, I'll show you what happens when the light's on. So I mean, that's not too hard to see. Looking at that though, I mean, you'd think, well shoot, obviously I know it's not +1 because I can see that little bit of shadowing. Let me turn the light back off. There we go. So that's a tough one. Because looking at that one, it looks like it's offset to the left just a smidge. Yeah, I think -1. So on this one, I'm going to do a -1. So this one is my right distance. So -1. Okay. Sometimes I doubt myself, but yeah, -1. So on the right distance, you come over to your software. So again, this is, if we go to horizontal, so this is the right distance that we were just looking at. Right now it's already at a -1. So we're gonna go, you wanna go one more negative. So we're gonna do -2. I'm gonna click save. Once it's done, we'll go ahead and print adjust. And we'll check that. Alright, so we're gonna put out what we need. More waste. And we're gonna see how that one fared. And it's weird, is sometimes you'll make adjustments to one and then go back and look at it and or reprint it, and then you're like, well, that doesn't look how I wanted it to look. And it's powering off. See, now, to me, I see on 0, again, that's where we want to be, 0. I see on 0 on this left edge, I see darkness, where over here on +1, I don't, and that's where we were. We were on +1. So again, sometimes it's not great to doubt what we're doing here, but just to show, I don't know how close this will get, but I really want to get in so you can see Let's see what that does. That might be too close. Let me turn on the light. Yeah. I don't know if you can see that on camera or not, but that's 0. And for me, I see some discrepancies. I do see some issues here too, which that might be just with the way that the printhead's firing. All right, so we're going to go back to where we were. So again, that was at a -1. Save. And that'll put my 0 back to where it was at. Because we're doing a +1. All right, let's move this back up. Yeah, that's the one I want. It's +1. All right, so we are now going to look at the vertical alignment. Turn this over. Get that the right way. So these, what you look at is the lines, the white. Let's see if I can get the camera on it. You get a glare from my shop lights. But so this has 2 lines. Let me go to the extreme. So this is all the way to the right. So you see this white line and then this black line. So on a vertical alignment, you want this white line to line up with that black line. So, and again, that should be at 0. So as we start working our way closer to 0, so there's +2, there's 0. So you can see +2 has an offset. It's above the black line, and then on my -2, it's below the black line, and at 0, where it needs to be, it's dead on with that black line. So my vertical alignment is perfect, and it's powering off. I need to change that time, the auto shut off time. So that, to me, vertical, horizontal left and right distances, and print EXP, those are where they need to be. So I'm now going to do my bi-directional adjustment, or print adjustment. So to kind of explain this, turn the camera around so you can see me. I'm gonna move this a little bit. So printing bidirectional means your printer prints in both directions. So as your carriage with your print heads in it goes to the left, it's printing. As it comes to the right, it's printing. So it prints in both directions. So that speeds up the print process. So when it's printing though, you have to realize it's laying down an image. You know, it goes to the left, it lays down an image. When it comes to the right, it has to put that ink right back on top of that print that it just did. So that's your bidirectional adjustment. So you want to make sure that there's no difference there. So we're going to go ahead and do a print adjust and see how the bidirectional adjustment looks. So let me go ahead and click print adjust. Excuse me. and we will see. All right, let's look at this end of the microscope. So now we're going to bring this in and look at it. So me looking at this before I get down to the numbers, I think that as I get down to the numbers, that's fine. Actually, 0 is where it needs to be. So that to me looks good. So now that I've gotten my bidirectional value set, I'm actually going to go back and go through the headspace again on these values. So I'm going to do a print adjust. I'm up here on the big screen. I'm going to do a horizontal left and right, another vertical, just to make sure that things didn't change based on the value that I changed in the bidirectional adjustment. So we're going to click print adjust. Excuse me. So the alignment process isn't difficult. It's time consuming. That's consumable wasting. But unfortunately, that's what we have to do. I'm going to do a right alignment. That's my left. I'm going to do the right and then the vertical. And then we'll look at them again. And this is the vertical print. See, I try to look at this with just my eyes, and I can't. My eyes don't do it. I'm going to print or cut out our alignments. That's vertical. That's right. Left. And look at this. More waste. Okay, let's see how these guys look. I'm going to go back up. Back to the microscope. I think we'll check the vertical first. Power up. So right there is good on vertical. So I like to look it up here first to see which one I like first, and then I go down and look at the number and go, okay, he's at 0. So my vertical alignment's still good after doing the bidirectional. This one here will look, let's see, I'm not even seeing what I'm seeing because of the silly lights from the shop. Oh, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to look, I'm already on 0. So let's just go 0. To me that looks decent. Again, I had made the adjustment on 0 last time and it didn't, it went the wrong way. It went the other way. So I'm just leaving it at where it's at. So 0 on my, which one is this? Is this right? Yep. Right distance. And then we're going to look at left distance. That one looks good too. And again, when you're looking at this, let's see if I can get the reflection off. You can see there's a little black, it's really hard to see, but there's a little black line on the side here, and there's a little black line on the side here. So, and then on this one on 0, there's no black line on either side. So this one is the one that's lined up. So if it's offset and you're seeing black on one side or the other, again, you can see the extreme. And that's, if you have something like that on 0, that's not good. So what you end up doing though is say 7 looked good, and that's, you know, was perfect. The value, this is -7, so we're looking at left distance. So you would go inside the software, you'd go into Print EXP, and say the -7 looked perfect. You would come inside the Print EXP software, you go to your horizontal alignments, and this is your left distance. Right now it's at 1, but -7 looked the best. You would change this value to -6. Because that's, obviously you're not changing it. You don't make the number -7. You're taking -7. So you got to take the 1 off first, and then this value would become -6. So if it was, say the value was 4, to the right, and it looked excellent on 4, your 0 looked horrible, and 4 looks good, that means you need to add 4 to that left distance. So this number would then become 5. So very easy to do. And again, you have to check it routinely, you know, just to make sure that it's staying in check. As it powers off again. So one thing I do is after I get my alignments done, I'm going to move my microscope back onto my workbench. This is kind of neat. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this. This is a NYX. I have to do a full video on this. It's the NYX Mini 3 Pro. It's a color sensor. It literally it's an app on my phone, so I can take this little guy here, and it's kind of used for creating or reviewing ICC profiles. But a lot of times what I'll do is I'll have a customer that wants a certain color on their graphics that we're doing, and maybe they brought something in. Maybe it's like that turquoise color on that little book right here. So with the NYX sensor, I can actually put it on that color, and on my phone, it'll show me the RGB information about it. I can see the hex value. So inside Photoshop, I can key in that hex code number and get the exact color of what I'm looking for. I mean, you just set it on something and it'll get that color. So again, it's the NYX Mini 3. I like it. So you might want to get it. So that is it. So the next thing I was going to show you is what I normally will print after making these corrections or adjustments. So if I go to File, I have a test print file that's choked at a 0.05, I've got one at a 0.1, and then I've got one that's choked at 0.2. So normally I'll print all three of them. So let's see if I can move this up a little bit. So I'm not going to be up on the screen. I'm going to do it here from my workstation. So it's these three files. So I'll hold down Control as I click on them. So I got these three files in the lower right corner selected. Continuing to hold the Control key, I'm going to right click on it and say Add Printing. So it adds these three files to my print queue. It says Task Ready, which means they're not all ready to print. So if you, again, hold down Control and click on all three images, and then right click, you can set them to Print Ready. So now all three of them are print ready. So that's my 0.05. I actually put choke 0.05 on this file. It says choke 0.1 and then choke 0.2. So, and the purpose of this file is it's the CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And then I've got some shapes so I can see when it lays its underbase down, how my alignments look on these actual images. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll do a nozzle check real quick. And what that does is it kind of gets some ink flowing through the heads again, other than just what I was doing with my alignment checks. So you'll see here. And then once the nozzle check is done, it allows me to kind of get the film over to right about here, so I can print without worrying about it going down inside there. Once the printer goes idle, I'll show you the nozzle check. If you can see that or not. Sometimes it's hard to see, but everything on mine right now is firing good. I don't see any missing. There's a little bit in the magenta. That might clear up once I start printing. So nothing major. So I just get this down far enough that this is now on the preheat. So, and then I'm going to go ahead and click on print. And then this print, normally I'm not going to powder it, but I will oven cure it. So it's not wet, so I can look at it. So let's click print. Be prepared too when you do your alignments that even though everything lines up on 0, you may still print and have a vertical or horizontal offset a little bit, and then you're like, well, that's interesting. I've actually had to go in and modify those numbers by a plus or minus 1 or 2, even though 0 was on, just to get it to line back up again. This is printing all the files. All three of them. So this is the choke at 0.05. Probably should. No, you can't. So the print file, the PRT file, has to be an individual PRT file. So when you're printing 3 PRT files, this goes back to its capping station. It says print ready. It's going to start printing again. You have a little bit of a gap between your prints. I was thinking I should have them all in one file. That way it doesn't do what it's doing right now. It just prints it out. But you can't do that when you've got each file ripped at a different choke setting. That's the whole purpose of choking them differently. One thing that I noticed the other day is my powder, when I would turn on powder manual, my powder wasn't coming out real good. And believe it or not, even though the powder that we get from the manufacturer comes in these vacuum sealed bags, and when you pour the powder into the bin, it looks really good. Over time, you do get little particulates inside the bin, whether it's I think it comes from down below in the drawer when you dump your powder back up in here, but what I did is I kind of ran all the powder through down into the drawer, and then I noticed inside the screen that's here that it sifts through, there was hairs and fuzz and just things that were caught up in there. So I pulled all that out, used the vacuum cleaner and cleaned it all out, and when I did that, totally corrected the powder coming through the bin. Okay, so now we're going on choke 2. So what a choke does is it brings the underbase in from the edge of the print. You can see on a .05, it's kind of hard to see because it's so negligible. You can see it more on that one there. All right, so again, I don't powder it, and I'm not going to apply it to anything. All right, so the test prints are out. The one that I like to look at is the one that I choke to 0.2. So I get a good reference for the distance between the underbase and the actual print itself. If you do like a 0.05 or a 1, it's hard to see those values. So I do the 0.2, so it brings it in a little bit more. So what I like to do is set this down on a black background. So when I look at this width of this line is 10 pixels. So I made this graphic in Photoshop. So this is a 10 pixel border. So and the borders around these colors as well. So CMYK, I put up in the corner of choke 0.2. I put it on a black background to see if I can see a white edge peeking out anywhere, which I don't. And I'll turn it over. I did touch this accidentally, so I got a little oops here in the corner. Again, I didn't powder this, but I did cure it in the oven. And the downside to that is it's not, if it's not powdered, it's still kind of tacky, even though I cured it in the oven. So the main thing that I like to look at for my alignment print, if I turn on my microscope, is the actual word choke up in the upper corner. So I'll put that underneath the microscope. And what I'm looking for is a nice even distribution of space around the word. So the black, so the underbase is the white. Turn my screen back on. Obviously the white is the underbase that's printing over the image itself. So looking at this, I'm making sure that my line distances, like if we look at this O, that I got a black line at the top, black line at the bottom, left and right, and then on the inside of the circle. So this is, if you had an offset where it was left or right, or if it was a horizontal or vertical, the white would be down where you couldn't see like this black edge here or that black edge there. So for me, that's my check after doing my alignment. Even at the 0.2, this little tiny square has a nice black border around it. So again, if you're out of alignment, I might actually just get it way out of alignment to show you what it looks like, then put it back in alignment. I'll do the vertical alignment. So I'm going to pause the video for just a sec, make some changes, do a print, cure it, show it to you, and then I'm going to set it back. I just want you to see the difference. So hold on one second. Stand by. Okay, we are back. So this is a good example. So what I did is in Print EXP, I changed my vertical alignment by a +10. So instead of 1538, I changed it to 1438, which is obviously going to put me way out of whack, but I just wanted you to see it when it's under microscope. So the difference, it's very substantial. So when I bring up the word choke, you can see that offset. I mean, the white underbase is up, the CMYK print is down below. So this is an offset that you do not want. So my previous print, where I obviously had the white centered inside of the black, that's what you're looking for. So that's what doing your printer alignment actually does. You can actually see this on these images too. There's the point of the triangle, so you can see it's up above. And then if I come down to the bottom of it, it will let me get down that far. Let's see, I gotta move it a little bit. No, it won't let me do it. Let me turn it around. That'll do it. So yeah, there's the bottom of the triangle. It's upside down, but you can see the offset. I mean, that's changing that value. Again, that line, the black line underneath is 10 pixels, is the dimension. So that underbase is a 0.2 of a millimeter, is what I'm choking it to. And the you can see that's off. So by adjusting it by a +10, and it was just to show you, obviously I don't want it that way. It's going to go back to what it needs to be as a -10 to 1538. You can see how much of a difference that makes. So that is why you do your printer alignments. So, and again, it's a lot of people will set up their printer and think that that's the end of the story, that's all you need to do. But the reality is, these printers, you really got to babysit them. Do your test prints every morning. So do your cleans. So my process, again, I've showed it. You do your cleans, and then you do your nozzle test, and then you do your morning print file, which is these files here. So I look at them and just check the alignment. If you see that you're off, sometimes, I mean, you can go in and go through that whole process I just did, but if you see it's just a slight vertical offset that's off just a smidge one way or another, you'll learn that by going, I don't want to get too confusing here, in your vertical alignment settings, if you adjust that value positively, it's going to move the white underbase towards the back of the printer, towards the rollers. So let's say you're printing and you look at the print and the white underbase is down on the vertical alignment and you need it to be up more, you're going to put a positive value. And you might just adjust it by 1 or 2 and then print, and oh, look at that, that's perfect. So once you adjust it though, reprint your test file and look at it. Is your offset gone? So, and it's the opposite. So if you're printing the white is in the other direction and you want it to go down, towards the oven and shaker, you use the negative value. So you might minus it by 1 or 2 and then print it and see how it looks. And it's the same thing with your right and left adjustments. You'll learn over time what value moves it which direction. So if you're off a little bit, over time you'll go, I just need to go in and change the vertical offset by -1. And then you'll do it, you'll reprint your test file and it's perfect. So instead of going in and jumping through all the hoops that I just did to show you how to do a full alignment check on your printer for the bidirectional, the vertical, your horizontal left and rights. I mean, every now and then you want to do that, but it's not, I don't think it's fully necessary. So hopefully this video is helpful for some that may be struggling with your alignments. The other thing to realize is your print heads, when you install them into the assembly, make sure that they are obviously seated properly, that they're screwed in, but they're, that you pushed it down, you maybe pushed it all the way in one direction or one corner to make sure those heads are in the same position, because this is what, if I take these screws out and move this a little bit, that's going to change the alignment, and then you're going to have to realign it. So when you replace your print heads, you've obviously got to go through that whole process of doing your alignments. So that's that. Bring my film back up. This is my OCD. So again, hope my video was helpful. It's kind of a lengthy video, but the process again is a lengthy process. The microscope I will link down in the description below. I did get it on Amazon. I do have an Amazon affiliate program, so the link will be to the affiliate program. It doesn't cost you any more if you buy it through my affiliate link. It does help me out though. But I was told by Amazon that you're required, if you have the affiliate program, you are required to state that that's where the link leads them to. So just letting you know. And that does it for my video today. What else do I got going on? Still haven't received my new 3D printer. The Bamboo Lab X1 Carbon shows it's delivering Tuesday. I was hoping to get it today or tomorrow to play with it, but I'm not getting it today or tomorrow. So if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If my channel is useful to you, please consider subscribing to the channel. Click the notification bell so you'll get notified when I post new content. And as always, I appreciate you guys. Today's Friday, so TGIF, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. And we'll see you on the next video. If you have any questions, you can feel free to put them down in the comments below. The other thing is you go to my website, www.custommade.bys.com. We have a chat interface there if you want to chat with me. You can send us a contact or an email from the contact form. And the best way to get a hold of me is through the contact form. That emails me, and I'm normally best going back and forth via email. So if you have questions, that's ideal. So, all right, I'm done. We'll see you guys. Take care.